Sue and Craig have equity in their home, plus some savings in the bank. They decided to buy a second property as a tenanted investment. They got advice from Toowoomba's Edge Lending, because Edge Lending are the experts in borrowing to buy investment property.
Hi everyone, Scott from Edge Specialist Advice Network. I hope you're all well. Hey, today another installment of What the Numbers Say, and we're using a graph from Visual Capitalist as we do. And today we're looking at the percentage of exposure or car ownership, the percentage of electric vehicles that are in countries that are specifically owned by China. So China is the maker of the electric vehicle. So we're looking at the percentage of electric vehicles in a certain country that are the Chinese make and model. So think of BYD plus a few others, but BYD seems to be the big one. And why do we care? Let's have a look at these numbers first, right? Okay, so in 2024, the US put big tariffs on. I'm just going to move this up here. Okay, great. They put a big chunk of tariffs on Chinese vehicles, like 100% tariffs. So the percentage of Chinese electric vehicles inside the US is zero. And I guess look, Tesla and a few of the other car manufacturers, Ford, General Motors, those sort of guys, they probably welcome the tariff and the pushback on the much cheaper Chinese electric vehicle, done for a couple of reasons. I want to have a look at where they do have the large exposure and where they don't. Okay, so not much in Germany, Britain, France, zero in Canada, so that will be in line with the the same sort of tariffs and things that have come through from the US. Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, small exposure, Italy and Japan, right? So when I look at those, and Finland, so pretty much Europe and a little bit of the Five Eyes, so the Western world, which the Western world thinks they're the whole world, but they're only about a third of the world. So there's really small exposure and not much at all of Chinese-made electric vehicles in that market. Yet China is 62% of the electric vehicle market in the globe. But in Europe, the US, and some of the Five Eyes nations, so Security Alliance, they have a very little exposure. I want to have a look at this. I want to look at Australia, since I'm from Australia. 26%. I think it's interesting to see. Like Mexico, a lot of the factories are in Mexico for BYD. Same as Thailand. Look, three quarters of the electric vehicles in Thailand are Chinese branded. Okay, and so there's some big BYD factories in Thailand. Thailand is becoming higher in manufacturing, which is really good for Thailand. Israel surprises me, 64%. I'm really curious about that. I don't really understand that at all. And you go, well, Scott, it's just economics, right? It's something about economics. Maybe China's right near Russia and they're not going to put any tariffs on because they don't have any. So, it's not far to get the cars into Israel. And also they don't have car manufacturing. There's no Israeli car manufacturing, so we don't need to put tariffs on. I mean, would anyone buy Israeli vehicles after the pager explosion incident that was like 5 years in the making? Probably not. Probably be very cautious about buying any electronics from Israel. Again, Australia's still got a quarter, and I'm really curious about that. And so why am I curious about this? So last year, the Australian government put a ban on politicians having Huawei phones and also driving electric vehicles that are China owned. Why? Why is that a thing? Look, I believe it's all folly. I believe it's something that is not going to make much difference. But the issue is one of security. So all of the modern vehicles, so not just the BYD and the China and the Jinping and all those sort of electric vehicle manufacturers, and it's all manufacturers. So Ford, Audi, all the ones that come out of Korea and Japan, and especially Tesla. They are all, so 100% of the new vehicles are all data collection entities. They all record everything you say internally. They record every song you listen to. They record every journey you've ever taken. They record how fast or how hard you brake, how fast you accelerate. They film 360 degrees of everything that's going on. They all, 100% of all modern vehicles from about 2018 onwards, have kill switches, so remote kill switches that the government could command someone to remote kill switch them. Especially the electric vehicles, you could probably remote control them. Okay, so they could also become weapons. So any vehicle can become weapons. Every vehicle that's been made since 2016 has the ability to be geofenced. What's geofencing? If I said, if we went, oh, you know what, we don't want anyone leaving the boundaries of your town, they can just geofence all the vehicles from afar, from a satellite somewhere, and you would try and drive past the city limits and the car would just stop. So that's in every vehicle. So, I mean, pick your slave master, right? And so the countries like the US and Canada and a lot of the Five Eyes countries, a lot of the Western world, do not trust China to have remote control over all of their citizens' vehicles. They, the EU, want the control over all of the vehicles. They don't want China having 1/3 or a quarter. Look at Thailand. They don't want China having three quarters of the control over the vehicles, where Thailand doesn't care because they're so aligned economically with China. Interesting that Australia is kind of part way there. We probably don't want to upset China. We probably don't want to explain that we don't want the Chinese government being able to remote control everyone's vehicles, plus having massive data collection abilities. The Australian government wants that for themselves. They want to do that using Ford or or Audi or any other vehicle that comes through. All of the Hyundai, Mazda. The Australian government wants that control for themselves. They don't want to really leave it up to the Chinese government. So that's really what's happening there. And it's interesting that even a simple thing like a vehicle has become part surveillance, part military. I guess like if you took control over a vehicle and you ran it into a government building to cause mayhem, that could be a thing. Wouldn't be hard. You've seen how all those electric vehicles explode and catch fire like horrendously. So, I guess they're all remote control bombs on wheels, and that's probably why the government's like saying, you know what, we're going to start cutting out adversarial countries filling our citizenry with these items. So that's pretty much what it is. So does that mean that it's an un-investable style company to invest in? Well, I mean, the Chinese can put an electric vehicle out with just as good a spec as Tesla for about 1/3 of the cost, which is why they're all through Asia. So that to me means profitability. These companies are not just vehicle companies; they're usually drone companies, but also humanoid robot companies, and that's actually what Tesla is really as well. And they're also going to be autonomous vehicle companies. So you can imagine like a Tesla or a BYD merging with Uber, and that's how people get around. You live in the city, you don't need a vehicle anymore. You get shuttled around by your Johnny cab that you can order on your phone. So interesting to see. This is just one area that I think is really fascinating to watch as it improves, and you soon learn that what we used to take for granted with the old ICE engines, where that was our freedom, and this doesn't exist in these things anymore. But it doesn't make them uninvestable, guys. It actually, like these, especially some of these Chinese electric vehicle companies, coming off a low multiple of cash flow base, especially when you compare to competitors like Tesla, and so you would eventually think that they would catch up. So you start to see Tesla pulling away. That might be something different, but as they might have some SpaceX or some other robotics overlay. That's why they think that company's going to be leading the way in America, and Elon Musk definitely has the ear of the government. But you can see the actual profitability of these Chinese companies. Eventually, profits do matter, and when China is so far ahead on robotics and things like that, maybe we just hold our nose, make the trade, make the money, but maybe we don't own any of the vehicles ourselves if we want to be also involved in freedom. All right, look, guys, I thought that was really interesting to see, and the spin on it that it is. They all are military surveillance items now, being infiltrated through the citizenry, and that's why governments are like saying, hey, we're the only ones allowed to spy on our citizens, not foreign nations, and pick your slave master. All right, guys, that's enough for me. Remember, life is a family sport. Give yours an edge. See ya.
Superannuation is every Australian's most important investment. The decisions you make now can have a large impact on when you can afford to retire and the lifestyle you'll enjoy when you do. There are so many companies to pick from for your super, but did you know that you can also manage it yourself? Edge Financial Services can help you take control of your super and plan for retirement with a self-managed super fund. There are many different ways for you to invest in your future. To find out more about investment strategies that will give you the edge in retirement, visit edge.net.au today.